Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to talk about a Sunflora. And when Sunflora was revealed by the official Japanese YouTube channel this morning, my initial reaction was, oh, that's it. We just get a Sunflora. That's not very exciting. I didn't think it was very exciting. Then I used my magical Japanese powers to translate the card. And then I understood why they had gone and revealed this Sunflora and why I should be excited about it. I'm not saying that it guarantees victory against Charizard in every single matchup. I absolutely am saying that it is phenomenal against Charizard. So what we've got from Sunflora here, well, we start with Sunken. Sunken is, shall we say, not terribly interesting. We got 40 HP, and this is actually relevant, and it's something we need to bear in mind, because this is extremely low. And if you're playing Sunflora, you've got to play Sunken, and this Sunken has very, very low HP. This is something you're going to need to be thinking about. Whether it's playing Manaphy to protect it from damage, or whether it's playing Jirachi to protect it from damage counters, whatever it might be, you need to be ready for this. Your Pokemon, if your opponent is playing Charizard and they see a Sunken on the bench, they are going to know what you're playing. They are going to know what a problem it could turn into, and they are going to do everything they can to, I think, head it off at the pass is a nice way to put it. But then we get to Sunflora. And Sunflora is awesome. Now, again, HP-wise, we're looking pretty low. We've got 100 HP. It's not great. And 2 energy, 50 damage, heal 30 from this Pokemon is not great. Oh, as a side note, I never actually told you what Sunken did. Sunken single energy, flip a coin 4 times, flip 4 coins, 10 damage for each head. You can do 40 for a single energy. You'll normally do 20. It's not a terrible attack. It's not good, but it's not terrible. What is good is Sunflora's first attack. Sunflora's first attack is single energy, and it does 60 damage for each energy, each fire energy, attached to all of your opponent's Pokemon. I have checked the translation with the lovely Antoine Boulet to make sure I've not done a silly. I haven't. It is all of your opponent's Pokemon, which is important, because we'll go through the maths properly in a minute, but it means that if your opponent is trying to spread the energy around, it doesn't matter. It's not energy attached to your opponent's active, it's energy attached to all of them. And this is where Charizard comes in. Because Charizard, of course, has a very nice ability, which is one of the reasons we like Charizard so much. It's got the often seen ability Infernal Rain, that when you evolve up into it, lets you search your deck for up to 3 basic fire energy and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like. So, Charizard is going to be spreading fire energy around. This is the most played deck. EUIC is going on this weekend. This is the #1 deck being represented at EUIC. And actually, PokeStats do a great job sharing all this stuff around. It just comes from the official stream, but still, shout out PokeStats. Day 1, Charizard is the most played deck, and it's not even particularly close. 593 decks, 23% meta share, as opposed to Chen Pao in number 2 with 330 decks. It's actually got more representation than Archeops and Chen Pao combined. It's absurdly popular. If we flick to day 2 of the metagames, that's been shared as well, put on stream, shared by the lovely folks at PokeStats, and we'll see that it's closer now. But the #1 deck is still very much Charizard, 52 decks, 19% of the meta. And that's kind of the point here. We're talking about this as a Charizard counter, and look, there is one other deck which is, I suppose, relevant, we'll talk about in a minute. But make no mistake about it, this is a Charizard counter. And you know what? It is good as a Charizard counter. Because if we look at the maths, this does 60 damage for each energy, fire energy, on your opponent's board, no matter where it is. And this is probably a good time to mention Charizard is weak to grass. So you're actually doing 120 for each energy. So let's say Charizard evolves up. It gets 3 energy. 2 to the active Charizard, or the one you're going to be attacking with. 1 to a benched Pokemon. That's 3 energy. That's 180 damage. Times 2 for weakness, because Charizard is weak to grass. Oh, yeah, that's 360 damage. That's a KO. And sure, your opponent can try and play around it, but trying to play around this isn't exactly the easiest thing to do. Because the way your opponent plays around it is they go, ha 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 ha, I'm not going to search for free energy from Charizard's ability, I'm only going to search for 2. And I'm going to leave all of my energy on my active Charizard. So now, you're only doing 120, times 2 for weakness is 240, I'm out of range in your face. And to be fair, that does actually work. Maths-wise, that does work out. Problem is, Maximum Belt's a thing. And Maximum Belt will solve this problem. Because Maximum Belt will put you from 120 to 170, which times 2 for weakness just so happens to be the perfect amount of damage to get a one-hit KO on a fresh Charizard that has no damage on. But with the added bonus of, they deliberately didn't put a third energy down. That's why you played Maximum Belt. If they've got a third energy down, you don't need it. It doesn't matter where it is, you don't need it. So now, not only are you getting a KO, which incidentally is quite nice, you are getting all of their energy off the field. And fine, maybe next turn they get a new Charizard. Maybe that new Charizard then allows them to get more energy on the field, and maybe it works out perfectly. That could be a thing. But you're relying on an awful lot at that stage. And look, obviously, what you really want to do is combine this with something like an Iono. Put them down to as low a hand size as possible and basically just say to your opponent, look, not only have I just gotten 2 prizes off a Charizard, thanks for that, by the way, but also, you've got no energy on the board. You have to hit a Charizard this turn. Now, whether that's you've got a Charmeleon sitting on the bench ready to evolve or you rare candy, either way, you've got to get a Charizard right now or I'm going to start running away with this game. And that is why Sunflora is so gosh darn good. And look, these cards, when they're designed, the designers of the card game, they play the card game. These numbers aren't a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that with weakness, if Charizard gets free energy out with its ability, you get a KO. If it was 50 times, you would do 300 and you would whiff the KO on Charizard. The reason it is 60 times is so that Charizard getting all the energy with its ability that it can will go down to a Sunflora. I am 100% convinced that is a very deliberate choice. And you know what? We've seen this before. Remember how Pokemon keep printing stuff like Drapion? Great example. Drapion is kind of a hilariously blatant counter to Mew. This is a hilariously blatant counter to Charizard. And the fact that if they only get 2 energy, you can go and use a Maximum Belt, I'm not quite as convinced that's deliberate, but it does seem to work out quite perfectly, doesn't it? It's a stage 1, it's awkward. Your opponent can KO the Sunken before you get rolling. They can evolve up at the last minute and then try and KO any option you've got to get a Sunflora, and then you're in a little bit of trouble. I'm not saying it's a perfect counter, but I am saying that if I've got 2 Sunken on the bench, ready to evolve, or better yet, 2 Sunflora, my opponent cannot evolve into a Charizard without losing that Charizard. And the fact that it's a stage 1 makes it more awkward. It means it's going to fit into fewer decks. But I'm telling you right now, this is a good counter. The other deck, incidentally, I'm talking about is Armor Rouge Arceus. There are 6 of them in day 2 of EUIC this weekend. It is a deck we've seen popping up occasionally in the European regionals, and I'm not saying it's a phenomenal deck. I'm not saying it's a front runner, but I am saying it is a legitimate fringe deck. And the whole point of Arceus is you kind of have to get lots of energy out early in the game because that's how the deck works. And this will be a great counter to Charizard, but it also gives you a fun little option against Arceus and one you shouldn't look past. I'm giving this one 4 Wassies. It's not really good against... Well, it's not really good. It is absolute flat-out hot garbage against any deck that isn't a fire deck. This only works against fire decks. It literally is terrible against anything else. But we have decks playing Fire Energy right now. And the absolute unquestioned most played deck in the format really will hate this card coming out. That alone makes it very, very exciting. Right, that's what you need to know. And now it's over to you guys. Do you like this Sunflora? Do you think it's good? Or do you think I'm getting a bit too excited again? Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourself till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.